This is Oscar responding to discussion post Argumentative Mind. I thought that this article was pretty interesting. How the researchers reframe the logic or the internal purpose function behind reasoning toward more of a argumentative focused idea instead of more other historical interpretations of reasoning being logic first. And I thought that their arguments and examples and experiments were pretty interesting as well, wherein they showed that how people performed better with logical um, problems when the framing became argumentation, which goes to show how our brains are geared toward argumenting. Um, and I think that with that reframing, they also provided some interesting examples of how a lot of what we consider to be like impediments to our reasoning, of like different biases, confirmation biases, those, if you reframe your thinking around, oh, we are geared for argumentation, I think that actually abates some of the issues with those biases, because if we understand ourselves as being not particularly interested in the truth, but rather in maintaining our own perspectives, it makes sense that we would want to spend less energy, minimize the energy spent on trying to find counter arguments and try to deflate our own arguments, and instead try to protect our own values just to reduce the amount of reasoning that we have to do. So, and obviously, in an argument, you're trying to prove your side of the case. So that made sense to me. And lastly, I thought that it was interesting how well people performed, like in group activities that they mentioned in the article, when it's geared toward like thinking about it in the argumentation sort of way, wherein you have people in a group, and as soon as one person figures out the answer, they can sort of explain it to everyone else, and through a reasonable like argument, they are like they have a higher probability of explaining it to like the other individuals, whereas in the individual case they don't succeed as often, which was interesting. And lastly, to respond to the question with politicians, I think that definitely, I think politicians, the successful politicians, they have this sort of approach of argumentation first, and rather than any sort of other reasoning or logic first. And I think you don't necessarily have to, or it's definitely not beneficial to tell the whole truth when you're a politician, and rather you're trying to make the best argument, and in a lot of ways that is with rhetoric and unfounded or circumstantial evidence to support your claims, playing into the pesos, ethos, like that is outside of the logos. Um, so yeah, those are my thoughts.